Fatality. Shang Tsung wins.
Yo, what's up guys, it's Dragoneye2427 here, and today I'm going to be making a bit of a different video. So, I've been wanting to make a tier list for so long, and I know you guys kind of been wanting to see that from me for a little bit. I know some of you have been asking for a tier list, and yeah, I was working on one long before that, but the thing was that I wasn't sure if to wait until all the characters of Combat Pack 1 were released, or if to just go ahead and make one. And seeing as how Combat Pack 2 is probably going to be a thing now, especially after the leaks when Homelander was released, I guess I'll make one right now. That's what I figured. But so a couple things to note: this is a ranked tier list. This does not apply for public, and it does not apply for offline tournaments. So if you want to use this tier list for any of that, just know that this does not reflect at all how either of those environments would be like. Because in public matches, I mean, it doesn't really matter who you use. You can, like, win no matter what, as long as you're good enough, you know? And, like, the people are going to be playing, like, super casually in that mode anyway, so why bother, like, trying to, like, find the meta there? Like, there's always going to be that small subsect of people that are just going to, like, try hard no matter what in pubs, but, like, for ranked, it's a bit different, because there it does matter. There's more on the line, there's points, you got to pay attention to what character is pretty good, and what character your character isn't good at, you know? So this tier list should help clear up the space if you're getting into ranked, or if you need help finding out like what character you should be using if you want to reach the higher ranks. Usually every season I reach demigod, sometimes god, but yeah, as you go up, one thing you're going to start noticing is that people start to use a specific type of character over the others. Because when you start out ranked and you're in the apprentice ranks, you're going to be seeing all sorts of characters. You're going to be seeing like the low tier characters, the high tier characters, anything like that. But once you make your way up, you're going to start seeing the same characters over and over. And I'm going to explain why when I get to those characters. So yeah, as of recording, it is currently June the 26th. Takeda hasn't come out yet, but when this video comes up, he will be out. And I will obviously edit this video together so it's one cohesive video. It's not going to be like split into two parts or anything like that. So when it comes out for you guys, it should be sometime in July, like late July. But I am recording this in June because there's going to be a lot I need to edit around, and I need a lot of time for that. So with that out of the way, let's get on with the tier list. So a couple things I need to discuss with this tier list. So as you may have noticed, there's no F tier. And the reason for that is because no character in this game like fails at their job completely. Like there's not a single character in the game where if you pick him, you're never gonna get a win. And there are some characters that kind of suck, but you can still win with them. And another thing you're gonna notice, there's no S tier. Well, there kind of is, but I labeled it as Shang Tsung, but that's besides the point. There's no one. The S tier usually, the way when I think of S tier, I think of like broken, like the moves are too good. Like when you fight this character, there's a good chance that you're probably not going to win against them. I don't think there's really any busted characters in this game. Like, yeah, some characters that are really good have busted moves, but that's just really like one or two moves. And at the end of the day, like, if you know how to counter them, it's just kind of a pain to fight against, but you can still win. Kind of like Peacemaker or Johnny Cage. And I know that Johnny Cage will receive some nerfs at the time of this recording, but I don't really think that that's going to affect the tier list that much, because usually when they nerf a character a little bit, it's kind of minuscule, so it won't really matter that much on the long run, you know? Alright, so let's start with Katana. So Katana's kind of one of those characters that she's meant to be like an air combo specialist, and that's not really that good, because in this game air combos just aren't really too good, and that's because of two reasons. One is because the airtime that you have in this game is lower compared to the others and the other games, you know? Another reason is because there's a lot of moves in this game that can anti-air you out of the air so easily, like Li Mei. Li Mei is an entire character dedicated to be anti-air, and every other character like Johnny Cage or Reptile, you know, like characters like that, they have at least one or two moves that are pretty good at knocking you out of the air. So if you're playing as Katana, her whole moveset is trying to get you into the air and then comboing in the air. That's where she specializes at. The problem with that, though, is that since she tries to work so hard to get you in the air, once you're actually in the air, the window of opportunity for combos is so small that you really have to be precise. Like when you pick this character, you're going to struggle a little bit, because it takes time to get used to the timings and all that sort of stuff. And since she's an air character, her ground combos aren't really that good. They're setups. They're meant to get you in the air, and then from there, that's where you do your combos. But yeah, all in all, I think she's still a fun character to use. In ranked, I don't really think that she's all too viable. If anything, I think she's a solid C tier if you can make her work. Because if you pair her with Jax, that's what mainly people use. You pair her with Jax, you can get some good damage out of her, like really good. I've seen like up to like 40% I think like 45, maybe 48 if you like properly use your moves and your meter right. You can get a good chunk of damage out. But that's with Jax though. And again, you really have to watch out with how your opponent plays, because if they know what you're gonna do, they're gonna be playing a little bit safer. Maybe try to like run, like try to zone you out or whiff you to punish you. So that's where you gotta mainly watch out for. All right, so let's talk about next character, Melina. So Melina, Kitana's sister, is actually way better in my opinion because she's actually faster. She can do air combos a little bit, but she's more of a teleport specialist. As in, like, she can, like, do attacks, teleport behind you, and then continue the combo. And it's actually pretty cool. She's also got quite a few mix-ups. I'm trying to think a few off the top of my head. I think 1, 2, and then 3. It turns the final hit into a low. Or you can do 1, 2, and then the grab. And that makes it an overhead. So you got two choices right there. She's also got another move that's also got a pretty good 50-50, and I can't remember that move, but it's also pretty good. So you got good choices with her. Again, you can teleport with her. She's got a ranged attack, but it's not really that good because the range is kind of short. It's really meant just to keep your opponents at bay if you need like room to teleport. That's what it's meant for. But she's also got the Melina Ball that's really good. The Melina Ball, in my opinion, is actually really good in this game because it's actually really fast. So if you like are moving back and forth, you're zoning your opponent out, trying to like do the Melina Ball, you actually have a good chance of that hitting, because if they're not blocking, there's a good chance that when you activate the move, they won't be able to react in time, because even if they press the block button, as soon as they see you turning into the Melina Ball, the character itself, the animation will not be fast enough to actually block it in time. So the only way to really block that is if you already kind of know it's coming. But even then, if they're just sitting there blocking, you got other ways to open them up to attacks. But I do think that Melina is actually a pretty good character. I think she's a solid B tier, honestly. Like, she's probably one of the higher B tier characters. We'll see how the list goes when I put these all together. I got a good idea of how I see all these characters on the tier list, but as I'm talking, I know it's probably going to be a little bit different from what I pictured in my mind, but I do think Melina is probably like a B plus character. You're not going to see her that much in lower rank, but once you get to the higher ranks, you start seeing her more often. And every time I see one, it kind of takes me by surprise, because it takes me a while to relearn how the opponent plays her. But yeah. So let's talk about General Shao here. So General Shao in Mortal Kombat 11 was pretty slow, not that good. He was meant to be the pre-order character, but not a character that was supposed to be taken seriously, which nobody really liked. Let's keep that real. Like, a lot of people were disappointed that he was kind of a lackluster character. He wasn't good in ranked, and he was meant to be like it was almost like a joke character, really, because you pre-ordered him and then you got the character. But in this game, he's actually got a full good set of moves. He's pretty viable. He's fun to play. He actually interacts well with a lot of cameos, and all in all, like if you like, I don't see a lot of people playing General Shao. For some reason, I think it's because he's kind of slow in his movement, but if you can get past that, he's got a lot of good options. Like, he can like use one of his abilities to make his hammer temporarily stronger, and if you use the hammer a lot, that's really going to be doing a lot of chip damage even if they block, you know? And if they aren't blocking, that's like doing a little bit extra damage, so why not just constantly, you know, make your hammer a little bit stronger? Another thing he can do is he has a low where he swings his hammer down and it sends like a shockwave to the ground, and it sends your opponent flying, and it's pretty good because it goes from it's full screen, so you can be at the far side of the field, you know, and then just hit that move, and it'll still hit the opponent if they're not blocking in time. That's a pretty good move. Another thing he can do is he can swing the hammer down to make an overhead, and it drops that hammer down, and he switches to hand-to-hand combat. Now, the hand-to-hand combat isn't as strong as his hammer combat, but it's a little bit faster, and it switches up your playstyle just a little bit, but it's good enough to where the opponent has to adapt and swap their defensive playstyle against you. Some good cameos that come to mind with General Shao are probably Serena, and I'm trying to think here, who else? I know I've seen another one. Chameleon does definitely come to mind because Chameleon adds good mix-ups for him, or 50-50, sorry. And let's see, Frost. Frost is another good one because Frost, you do the 1-2 hammer attack, and then you call in the low Frost freeze, and that freezes your opponent, and then you can do combo off of that. He doesn't have a lot of good air combos because he's not really meant for that, but he's mainly meant for the ground. When he's on the ground, he can hit hard. So let's see where I'm gonna put him because I think he's actually pretty good. I think I'm gonna put him B tier, not as high as Melina, but he's still pretty good. When you see him in ranked, you're probably not gonna see him that much, even in the high tiers, and that's mainly because he's a little bit slow. In ranked, I guess people favor like fast moving characters over the slow ones. But if you do rock him in ranked and you get used to how he plays, he's actually a really fun character to play as. Alright, let's talk about Sindel. So Sindel has always been a bit of a controversial figure in this game, since a lot of people can't seem to agree whether she's good or she's bad. I'm kind of leaning onto the she's kinda not that good, in my opinion. And the reason why is because a lot of people don't really know this. I've been paying a lot of attention to the game, like the meta mechanics, the microcode, and all that sort of stuff. And one thing I've noticed is the speed of the game. Because one thing that you have to factor in mind when you're playing this game is how fast is your character compared to the other character. If the opponent is faster than yours, you have to really be careful, because if you're trying to like interrupt a move and your character's slower, it's not going to go through because the opponent is faster than you and he can just punch you like continuously, you know? So you got to really be careful there. And this is the problem that Sindel falls in. She's actually got the slowest speed in the entire game. And she shares that speed with 2 other fighters. And I'll get to those fighters later. But this is one thing that severely holds her back. Her abilities are fun to use. They're kind of tricky to pull off, but they're really good combos. And that's the good thing about her. Her combos are good. Her abilities are good. She interacts well with cameos like Chameleon and Serena again. And I think also Scorpion is also another good cameo. If you use Sub-Zero cameo, it's also pretty good from what I've seen. But the one main thing holding her back is her speed. She's just too slow to pull off a lot of these abilities consistently well. And your opponent usually is going to be way faster than you. And if you're fighting off of Baraka, you're going to have a hard time pulling off these combos because he's just going to outspeed you. So for this reason, I honestly think that she's going to have to be... let me think here. That is actually one I'm conflicted on. I don't know where to place her in D tier or C tier. You know what? I'll place her C tier, but it would have to be like a low C tier, like C minus, because I don't think she's really that good. All right, so let's talk about Tanya. Tanya is one of those characters where not that many people play as, but the people that do know how to play her, they're really good as, because they like just play that character all the time and they know the ins and outs of that character. I've actually played as every character in the game. So I've actually dabbled with with what all the characters can do, and Tanya is no different. Tanya is actually another fun character. She's kind of like General Shao, except that she's a little bit different because some of her attacks have pretty good range, and she can grab you from range, and it's kind of funny because it catches the opponent off guard. And another thing is that she's a little bit faster than Shao, not too fast, but she's like a little bit faster. So if you're not really sure about how fast you would pair up with another character, I think Tanya would be honestly like middle of the road. Like, she's not fast, but she's not slow, whereas General Shao is a little bit slow. She's got good abilities. The one I'm thinking off the back of my head is, I think, is down back 4, where she does like the leg sweeper, or the one where she does the helicopter kick, where it's almost like a rope swing, and it's really good because both of those you can EXE those moves and they give you armor. So if you're knocked down on the ground, you can use those as awakening attacks. But if you're comboing, those are actually got good combo potential. And if you stack her with Mavado, which is another good cameo to use with her, you can extend the combo to do even better damage. Another cameo you can use on her is actually Scorpion, because Scorpion is another good character that keeps the opponent in the air and allows you to combo more. So, all in all though, the only thing I honestly have to say about her that I probably don't like that much is mainly some of her movesets. Because she's got a lot of good moves, a lot of good abilities, but then she's got like 2 or 3 moves that just kind of like really don't do anything. Like, she's got the Ungari dodge, But the Ungati dodge, like, you have to charge it 3 times to actually use it. So you have to do down, back 3, down, back 3, down, back 3, and then you can actually use it. But who's going to sit there in a ranked match and charge up the move? Like, you can EXE it to charge it up faster, but when you actually get to use it, it's just a dodge. Like, it's not even that good. Why would you use it? And nobody really uses it either from what I'm seeing, because, like, why do that? Like, you can just backdash or combo break. Like, there's plenty of ways to dodge a move. So and the dodge distance, I forgot to mention, the dodge distance is actually pretty short. It's not good. So that's one of the things I have to complain about Tanya. She's just got some like weird abilities that just don't make sense. Why you would want to, why she has them? They're not good. They're not viable. For that, honestly, I think she's a C tier character, or sorry, not C tier, B tier. Let's see. I honestly have to put her probably a little bit lower than General Shao, because she's still pretty good, but it just sucks that she's got some stuff weighing her down. Alright. Next, let's talk about Rain. So, for Rain, I've seen clips of Rain where people try to make him good. He's a complicated character, and here's the thing though. Rain is meant to be complicated. He's not an easy character to pick off. But when you actually kind of try to learn him, he's a character where you're going to be spending days trying to figure him out. Like, when you pick up Rain, you're not going to be like, oh, that's how he works. Like, you're really going to be like trying to delve deep into his mechanics, the frame timing, the frame pacing, all that sort of stuff, and all of his moves work, what cameo he works best with. Because when you pick him up at first, a lot of his moves aren't going to make sense to you, and that's what I thought at first. But then you watch people like Sonic Fox play him, and then you're like, oh, I guess that's how you're supposed to use him. And this is not really an appealing playstyle for a lot of people. He's like a setup character, and if you pull him off right, yeah, you can do pretty good damage. He can do like solid damage, but it's not amazing either. So the reason a lot of people don't like to use him is not only because of how hard he is to use, but the damage he pulls off when it does work just isn't really worth it. Like, you have to go through all the trouble just to do a little bit of damage, and a lot of people don't like that, myself included. I feel like if they maybe reworked some of his moves to be just a little bit easier, or maybe increase the damage just a tad bit, he wouldn't be that bad. He doesn't flow that well with a lot of cameos either. Like, yeah, he flows around with, like, I think Motaro's pretty good combo choice with him. Serena's pretty good. I think Cyrax is a solid choice too, but I don't really remember anybody using him. And that's about it. That's really all I have to say on Rain. He's not a very popular character. Pretty much, a lot of people agree that he's kind of mid at best, and I have to agree. If anything, I'd probably say he's like probably the worst on the C tier list. He's probably gonna be like the bottom C minus, you know. And that's about as low as I think C minus is gonna go. When I add these characters all to the list, I'm pretty sure Rain is still probably gonna be the last character on the C list. All right. Next, let's talk about a very annoying character to fight against, and that's Reiko. So Reiko is actually pretty good. He's got a lot of solid moves, a lot of ways to attack the opponent. The main thing people hate him for is his arc stars, because they are really tricky and annoying to dodge, and a lot of people just spam him like low tier god, you know, so people don't really like that, myself included. I think it's really cheap. He's got a lot of moves, but people don't use it, so it's just like, that's kind of a waste of a character. If you're just throwing arc stars, like, it gets frustrating to fight. Now, the one main thing to note with this character is if he's throwing arc stars at you, you can just duck. However, you have to be careful how you duck, because if you're too far away, the bottom arc star can actually still hit you a little bit, which I don't know if it's a bug or if it's intentional, but I've had that happen. If he EXCs the arc star, it'll hit you no matter what, even if you're ducking. So you have to block with that, and that's a thing that's very annoying. So let's talk about his other moves though. He's got a solid leg sweep where he does like a ground slide, and that can take you by surprise. His kicks have really good range, like surprisingly good range. It's got like a red aura at the end of his foot, and that counts as the hitbox, so you have to be careful there. He's got good combo potential. He's got good grab strengths too, believe it or not. His main cameo that you really want to rock on him is Tremor, because Tremor just flows so well with Reiko. And another one is Darius. Darius is probably like as of right now, he's the only cameo that really works well with Reiko. Or sorry, the other way around. Reiko's the only character that really works with Darius. and of course it involves the grab, because that's really the main thing about Reiko. He loves to grab you. He's all up in your face. He's trying to do like overheads, low sweeps. He's trying to grab you, that sort of stuff. And yes, he can zone out by throwing stars, but mainly he's a close quarters character, and he's pretty fun to play as too. I just think it's kind of annoying to fight him, but yeah, if you can get past the arc star, you're pretty good. You're pretty set. And rank, you're really going to be fighting this character a lot, especially like once you get to veteran. I think when you get to veteran and a little bit above, I think once you get hit grandmaster, in those ranges, you're really going to see Reiko a lot, and it's probably going to piss you off, honestly. You're probably going to want to take a break from ranked if you're seeing this character too much, because you're going to get frustrated. It's going to be a lot of people just throwing stars at you over and over. But if you do hit out the grandmaster rank and move above, you're not going to see him as much. As a lot of the good players that are in those ranks, they're going to know how to adapt to that character, and people don't really pick him as much. So, with that being said, I do think he's I'm going to have to put him right here, in between Molina and General Shao, solid B tier. And with that, let's move on to the next character. Alright, so next on my list is Smoke. So Smoke is actually my kryptonite in this game. Every time I fight him, I really do not like this character. I think he's kind of cheap, to be honest. Just teleports, invisibility, and that's all he really is. Now, that being said though, this character is actually easy to counter, and I have countered him before. I just don't like fighting him. But the main thing you have to know is that all of his attacks are really unsafe on block. So if you do block it and learn his moves, it is just a free combo for you. But if you're playing as Smoke, the main thing that you really want to take advantage of is all your moves, because there's a lot of ways you can turn invisible. There's a lot of ways you can teleport behind the player, above the player, under the player, like with a low sweep. And the main thing you have to keep in mind, you want to take advantage of all of that to be a good Smoke player. Because if you just spam the same thing over and over, the opponent is going to be seeing right through you every time, and they're going to be comboing you because your attack is going to be super unsafe. He doesn't really have any ranged game. He's mainly a zoner that tries to ambush you, and that's the main thing. So he'll try to like run away, teleport behind you, and do a combo. That's mainly how he plays. I've seen him work well with Sector, although it's a little bit iffy on how that works because you gotta time it right. Another thing that people have used is Frost and Mavado, but Mavado, another thing about Mavado is that you gotta keep in mind that his involves you being in the air, and most Smoke players don't really like to launch you in the air unless they're like trying to do something specific with them. So for the most part, you're just gonna see Frost and Sector. And honestly, because of that, I have to put him probably C tier. I don't think he's all that good in ranked. You're not really gonna see him all too often. If you do see him, it's probably gonna be somebody that's gonna be teleporting all over the place, not really knowing how best to use their abilities, and you're gonna like have a bit of a hard time. You're either gonna not be able to block his moves because you don't know any of his moves yet, or you're gonna block him and combo him every time, and that's pretty much just how it's gonna go. But yeah, let's move on to Raiden. So Raiden is a bit of a popular character here because at launch, for those of you guys that who weren't around, he actually had a combo that took over half your health with one combo, and he was probably he was actually the only character that I actually agree that was actually broken at launch, because if you're fighting at a tournament and you did one combo, I mean, he got one combo on you, it was game over. Like, you probably just lost right there, because he could take like 54% of your health and with one combo, and that was really crazy. And then he could take like 40-some% of your health with no meter, which is just insane. So ever since then, he's gotten nerfed. He's still pretty good, but just not as like top tier as he used to be, but he's still pretty good. So one of the main things you gotta know about Raiden, he can teleport, but it's not like Smoke teleport. He can teleport all over the place. He's got 3 ways to teleport. It's not like that. Raiden just has one teleport, down up on the D-pad, and it just teleports right behind you. This is a great way to pretty much kind of like take your opponent by surprise if you're just doing like jabs and then want to teleport behind them and like kind of surprise them. But beware, because when this happens, you have to keep in mind that the opponent, since it's just one teleport, the same move, they can kind of see right through it if they know it's coming, and then they can punish you while you're teleporting. So as soon as you teleport, what I like to do is I like to just kind of like jab Raiden's out with like a low, and that takes them off their A game. So keep that in mind with teleports. Another thing he's got the ranged lightning bolt attack, where he summons like one lightning ball and then you let go, but if you hold it, you can summon up to 5, and it's pretty good. However, it's slow to charge up. If you EXC that move, it charges it way quicker, and it's pretty good. It's pretty solid. However, you're not really going to be comboing off of that. That's just kind of a way to give Raiden a bit of a ranged move. The other thing he's got a lightning dash where he jumps up in the air and charges right at you. It's a pretty good move, and it's a really good awakening attack, because when you use it, it gives you 1 block of armor, so it's pretty good. The main thing he's going to be doing is he's going to be doing that bicycle kick, and that thing is going to be the main thing you're going to want to do, since it's the combo that he has that takes like a lot of your health. If you pair him with Jax, that right there is how you get up to 40% of the HP done. It's a really solid character right now. I think, actually, no, solid would be a bit of a understatement right there. He's actually really, really good. He's got good attacks. He's got good overheads. I think he's even got good low attacks, too, if I remember correctly. I vaguely remember him being able to kind of, like, do, like, a low kick and stuff like that. But, yeah, he works well with Sector, Cyrax. Well, actually, not Sector. Cyrax, Serena. Jax is the main one you want to use. I think he works with Scorpion, too, because I think I've seen him being used one time. But don't quote me on that. But, yeah, Raiden is actually going to be going A tier. He's actually one of the top 5 characters right now. Alright, now let's get to a character that's actually pretty bad. Scorpion. So, people are divided with this character, where 50% of the people argue that he's the worst character in the game. The other half argue that he's the second worst character in the game. After having played pretty much all the characters, including him, I can confidently say he's the worst one. Like, it's not even not even close. The main thing with Scorpion, his strings just suck. Like, let's keep that real. Like, they're just not good. They're not fun to use. They're slow. The damage they output is pretty bad compared to other characters. Like, you have to put in a lot of work to do good damage with this character, and when you compare that to what other characters can do for that same damage, it's like, why even pick this character? Compare that to the fact that he's got moves that are slow, and if they get blocked, well, guess what? Your character's so slow, you're just gonna get punished. It's a free combo for your opponent. So Scorpion is just plain bad. Like, I can't think of a single thing that he has that is pretty good. Like, he's got a teleport, but it's slow. So if the opponent the opponent doesn't even have to see it coming. As soon as he sees the fireball swirling up around you, he's gonna know that you're gonna teleport, and all he has to do is just block, and then boom, free combo. So the main thing with that is, a lot of people like to say that Sub-Zero is the worst character. I do not agree with that. They both have terrible damage, terrible moves. But here's the thing, Sub-Zero is a little bit quicker. Actually, no, Sub-Zero is actually way quicker than Scorpion. Scorpion has the slowest movement speed out of all the characters, because him and Sindel share the same speed, and that being that they're slow, like super slow. Can't think of a single good thing to say about Scorpion, so for that, this is going to be the first D tier character right here. And he's going to be the slowest one right here. I don't know why people seem to, like, really push the narrative that Scorpion is not that bad as you say. No, he's pretty bad, like, honestly. Like, even the other characters that don't get played as much, like Natara, they actually at least have good combo potential. He doesn't. I can't think of a good cameo that flows with them good either. Like, you could probably use Serena on him, but, like, Serena just works with everybody. Like, there's no, like, one special cameo that he has. Like, if you use Motaro's teleport, why would you use Motaro? Scorpion can teleport. But then again, it's slow, so, I don't know, it's just, like, pointless. Alright, let's talk about Liu Kang here. So, Liu Kang is another one of those characters that's annoying to fight, but he's actually pretty good. He's not as bad as Reiko, where Reiko just spams projectiles at you. Liu Kang is more so annoying because he's got a lot of good moves. He's got a mix of everything. He's got ranged game, he's got close quarters game, he's got good whiff game, he's got everything. And the main thing you gotta be careful about him is he's got jabs and staggers. His staggers are probably the best staggers in the whole game. When he staggers you, your character, like, really can't move for a bit. And he's got more than one stagger. I think he's got, like, 3 staggers in the game. So it's really you gotta be careful. Like, when you fight this character, you have to, like, learn which moves he has that stagger you, because if he puts you in the corner and he's staggering you over and over, those moves are safe on block for him. Like, he can just keep doing the same thing over and over and just chip your health out to 0. Another thing he's got is his whiffs. So I think Liu Kang has the best whiff in the game. Second is probably Johnny Cage. And if you don't know what a whiff is, it's basically when they try to fake you out by like moving back and forth, and they hit you with like a move while you're moving. It's like a surprise attack, you know. Liu Kang has like a kick that he does, and the kick has pretty good range. That's why it's the best whiff, and it's also pretty fast. Like it's almost unreactable to it. The only way I could really say to counter that is just to hit him with projectiles, as he won't be able to block while he's like moving back and forth that much. But it's like scary when you're going up against him, because sometimes like you don't know, is he gonna throw projectiles? Is he gonna whiff you out? Is he gonna try to chip you out? Like you don't know. Also, another thing that I remembered, I don't want to forget this. So Liu Kang has the best projectile game in the game too, like because his back forward one is the best projectile. If you EXE that, it actually negates all the projectiles that in the game. So if I throw regular back forward one, and the opponent throws a projectile at it, the projectile just cancels it out. That's how good it is. Now if you EXE it, it destroys the enemy's projectile no matter what, and it still hits the opponent. So it can go through, like, the one example I can think of, so Shang Tsung, he can throw 3 fireballs, right? If you EXE Liu Kang's fireball, it takes out all 3 of Shang Tsung's fireballs and it still hits them. That's how good it is. He's also got like a low projectile. I think it's like down back 1. It's pretty good. It's not really like amazing. It's not fast, but it's a low projectile, so it's a bit of variety. So for that, I honestly have to say, Liu Kang's another one of the top 5 characters. It's not as good as Raiden, but he's up there. Like, when you pair him with a cameo, the Kung Lao cameo comes to mind, because Kung Lao, he can allow Liu Kang to do grab combos. It gives him another way to do a combo. So he's got like a good set of tools, and then Kung Lao just gives him another one. That's how good he is. Like, when you see Liu Kang paired with Kung Lao, you have to really be careful, because that probably means that the opponent is going to try to grab you and try to get combos off of that. And it's pretty scary. Alright, let's talk about a character that's kind of underrated and has been getting a lot of weird nerfs and buffs, and that being Reptile. Reptile has kind of like, over the game's life cycle, he's gotten nerfed, buffed, nerfed, and then buffed again. So recently he got buffed. That's what they're making this video. I don't know if he's going to get nerfed again. He got 2 extra moves. One is like a gas spit. It's a little bit of a ranged attack. It's not too powerful, but it's a ranged attack. The other one being like a string that he has, where he teleports and does an overhead. And I believe I did a video on this when Ermac came out. Yeah, I believe I did. So if you want to see that, you can either look that up or look it up on YouTube. Like, somebody probably has a video on it. So Reptile is actually pretty decent. It's a pretty fun character to play as. The main thing that I can see not that many people liking is that he's kind of a setup character. Again, kind of like what's his name, Rain. However, with Reptile, he actually does pretty good damage, and you don't really have to do setups to do good with Reptile. Like, you can just kind of have fun and just like do your thing, try to get combos, and you'll still probably do good. But if you really want to take full advantage of Reptile, you're gonna want to like try to get the opponent like stagger them and stuff like that. The main thing that Reptile has over other characters is that he can continue his combo even if the opponent is blocking. So most of the time when you do a combo and the opponent blocks it, it kind of just stops the combo. But Reptile can just keep doing the combo until the very end, and that can take your opponent off guard, and that can allow you to do regular damage if they're not blocking. That's what makes him pretty good. One thing that he does pair well with is Scorpion. Scorpion and Reptile seem to be the way to go, in my opinion. I think another one is Frost, but I don't really see that one too often. The last one I see is Scorpion, or not Scorpion, sorry, Sub-Zero, because of the ice armor. When you pair him with the ice armor, it protects you from the projectile attacks that you may encounter. Since Projectile, before the buff, he didn't really have any projectile game. Now he kinda does, but Sub-Zero should protect him from enemy projectiles. All in all, in ranked, I don't think you're gonna be seeing him all too often. If you do see him, because he's kind of hard to see, like he's kind of a rare character to fight in ranked. He doesn't show up in the low ranks that much, and he doesn't show up in the high ranks that much. If you do see him, he's kind of a middle of the road kind of character. Like, I'd probably put him C tier, because he's not like fantastic, but he's not weak either. Like, he's pretty good. All right, so now let's talk about the second worst character. So Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero is actually a really good character in the beta before the game came out. Before the game came out, I'm sure you saw the clips of him doing pretty good damage. when the game came out, they nerfed his damage to where it's just like not that good. Sub-Zero has to put in a lot of work to do the damage he does, and the main thing that I have to complain about that is that other characters, if they do the same damage, they don't really have to do as much. Like, just look at Johnny Cage. They do way more damage for less. Sub-Zero kind of gets ripped off here. He has to put up a lot of work, try to do all these strings, and what does he get for it? Just like jack damage, like not much. The main thing that comes to mind is this ice cameo, because the developers can't seem to decide whether to buff it, nerf it, or buff it. So ice cameo got nerfed at launch, because in the beta, the way ice cameo worked, I believe it counted like as a load as well, and then it got nerfed in the beta to where it did less damage, and then you couldn't call it in as much. It's kind of in a weird spot right now, honestly. Like, it's gotten so buffed and nerfed so many times, I don't even remember in what state it's in now. I have to say, don't rely on ice cameo to save your life, because it doesn't really do that much damage. It's kind of slow to pull off anyway, and when you do pull it off, you can't use the move for a solid like 7 seconds before you can use it again. And there's no timer for it either on the screen. You can't see the timer. You just kind of have to like count in your head. He does have good lows. Like, the main one that I can think of is back 3-3. That's a pretty good double hit low. Another thing he's got is his, I'm sure you've seen it, the icicle hammer, that being back 2. If you do back 2, back 2, back 2, back 2, that's a really good one. I know it sounds like I started there, but that's actually the command. It's back 2 twice. So when you do that, it's 2 overheads, and then you can send your opponent flying in the air, and you can do 2 things: either an air combo, calling your cameo, or wait for the opponent to kind of drop down a little bit and just kind of like do like a neutral combo, and it's pretty good. Another thing you can do with this combo though is cancel it. So instead of doing back 2 twice, you can do back 2 and then do the ice slide, that being back 4-3. You can cancel it out into that. That way it's a overhead low, and that way it's a good way to like kind of like mix up your opponent a little bit, because if they're just gonna block overheads, you can take them by surprise with that and kind of get them used to blocking low. That way you can take them by surprise with another overhead. It's pretty good. But yeah, the damage isn't really that good. His ice ball is probably honestly the worst projectile in the game. It's so slow. When it hits you, if it's supposed to freeze you, which I mean it does do that, but like his animation for it is slow. Like, he has to like move his hands and then throw the fireball like he's throwing some sort of like bowling ball, and then the ice ball itself moves pretty slow. It's not that fast. So when you're using that move, you have to like pretty much be careful, because if you're kind of like up close and personal, you're gonna get hit, because there's no way you're gonna pop that out in time. The other thing he's got is he's got the ice clone punch. That's honestly way faster, but the range on it isn't that good. Let's see what else he's got. He's got the low ice hammer, and that one is the one that ends in the brutality. It's not that good either. I don't really think Sub-Zero is really that good. He's got good, decent combos, but the problem here is the damage. He can move quick. He's got pretty decent moves. The damage just sucks, and he has to put in a lot of work to get good damage. So for that, I honestly have to put him right above Scorpion, D tier. Once again, it just sucks. Like, when you play him in ranked, you're gonna be seeing how much of a struggle it is to like really like beat your opponents who are probably gonna be playing top tier characters compared to Sub-Zero. And when you're fighting Sub-Zeros, you're not really gonna see them that much. Probably not at all that much, really. Like, you're really only gonna notice them in the apprentice rank and so on. But like, once you get to the warrior rank, you're really not gonna be seeing them that much. Alright, now let's talk about another top tier character. So we're going back and forth here from trash tier, top tier, trash tier, top tier. Alright, so here's the top tier character right here, Johnny Cage. A lot of people like to rag on Johnny Cage. He's the easy mode character. He's broken, needs to be nerfed. If you want to win $500, play as Johnny Cage, because he's an instant win button. And honestly, he's not people give him too much credit. Like, he's overhyped. Yeah, he's really good character. I can see why people don't like him. But he's not broken either. Like, a lot of his moves are just really good. They do good damage. He doesn't have to put in as much work as a character like Sub-Zero or Scorpion. But that being said, all of his moves are actually counterable. They're pretty simple actually to learn too. He's actually the easiest character to learn how to fight against, because a lot of his moves are just like 1-2, and then, you know, it varies from there. Like, a lot of his moves just kind of vary from there. Most of the opponents you're going to be fighting as are probably just going to be spamming that move over and over. They're either going to go for the overhead variation or the low variation, which is the one where he does like the leg. Sorry, not the leg. The leg sweep. It's honestly pretty good, but the leg sweep, you can't combo that. Whereas the overhead, you can. That's the main thing you got to watch out for, the overhead. The main thing you want to use with Johnny Cage here is cameo flows well with him. Cyrax, that comes to mind. That chopper blade, when you get the opponent up in the air calling Cyrax and he just sends him flying up, then Johnny Cage can kind of do like a mini air combo and then end it with a shadow kick. That's pretty good. Or you can end it with the nut punch. That works too. He's also got the move where he kind of dashes like behind your enemy if they hit you. It's a pretty solid move. And first, I don't really see a lot of people using that too often, but that move should really be used more because it's actually really good. And the window of opportunity when you can use it is actually pretty lenient too. I'm surprised not that many people use it. Shadow kick is the main move that I kind of don't like too much, because when you knock an enemy Johnny Cage down on the ground, chances are they're going to use that move to use it as an awakening move. That way they can get the free armor. And it's kind of tricky to dodge it because, block it. You can't really dodge that move unless you duck, but it's kind of tricky because the move is so fast, it's near unreactable unless you already know it's coming. That's mainly the issue I have with Johnny Cage. All of his moves are really good. I don't really think he has any weaknesses aside from the projectiles. He's got no projectiles. So he has to be like close quarters in your face all the time. Because his main weakness is if you keep him like if you're zoning him and keeping distance from him, he really can't do nothing. He can't attack you. He has to be in your face. Now, that weakness can be solved by giving him a cameo that gives him a projectile like Kung Lao's hat, Serena's double boomerang attack. Trying to think here, who else has projectiles? Frost's low ice freeze, characters like that. That's mainly one way to solve his weakness. But yeah, let me see where I'm gonna put him. Probably above Raiden, honestly. He's probably the best character in the game right now, if we're talking about like ranked, like just meta. Alright, let's talk about a character that almost nobody really plays as, but it's actually secretly pretty decent. That being Li Mei. Li Mei, if you've been watching since the beginning of the video, I mentioned she was an anti-air character. She's got a lot of moves to keep opponents out of the air. The one main move I can think of is the Sky Lantern, where she pulls out like a Sky Lantern and makes it hover in the air. If your opponent jumps up and hits the Sky Lantern, it blows up. That's one good move. Another thing she's got is where she jumps up in the air and does like a down forward kick. It almost looks like a somersault. It's actually pretty cool. You guys are going to know what I'm talking about if you've seen that move. It's a really solid move, and if you EXC it, you can actually combo off of it. So it's pretty good. She's also got like a dash where she punches her enemy kind of like a mantis, like praying mantis style. It's pretty cool. And you can awaken that move to get free armor, stuff like that. The main thing with Li Mei is she's going to be like throwing projectiles at you, but she's going to also try to rush you back and forth. She's going to swap between close quarters and projectile, like so zoning. So it's an interesting playstyle. However, not that many people like to do that because it's a bit of a lot of work to swap between two playstyles. Like going up close and personal and then like quickly moving backwards and then back again, you know? It's a lot of work to do that. And not that many people like to do that. The main thing that I will say the main cameo is probably going to be Scorpion, because when you knock the enemy into the air, Scorpion is just going to be the best character that you can call in to help you extend that combo. Trying to think of some weaknesses here. She's pretty fast, so I don't think you're going to have much trouble like trying to interrupt combos. I really can't think of a solid weakness for her. So for that, I think I'm honestly put her C tier. Yeah, I think I'm going to put her in between Reiko and General Shao, actually. Because she's not bad. I can't think of really of any weaknesses she might have. But the thing is that if you really want to take full advantage of her, you have to like swap between those two playstyles, and that's a lot of work for a lot of people. It can be a bit like, it can mess with your head if you're trying to do that. Alright, so we got to Kung Lao here. Kung Lao is another fun character I like to play as. He kind of plays like Li Mei, where he has to swap between close quarters or throwing his hat. He's kind of a bit of a clone as her. However, the main difference with him is he's got many ways to get up in the air and then quickly dash at you, whereas Li Mei doesn't really have that. So when you toss his hat, you can actually control it by holding down the D-pad and like pressing a direction. Like if you hold up on the D-pad, the hat flies up. If you hold down, the hat flies low, making the hat into a low attack. So you can knock people out of the air or hit them in the leg if they're blocking standing up. It's pretty good. He's also got a variation of that move where he throws the hat sideways, so it's pretty cool. The main thing with Kung Lao you're going to be doing is you're going to be trying to like grab your opponent, try to combo off of it, do like surprise air attacks where you jump up in the air and quickly dash down. That's mainly his game that he's going to be trying to do. So for that, really the main thing you're going to be want to use for his cameo is Chameleon. Let me think. I think Frost is another good one. Yeah, Frost, because that's actually pretty good. I forgot about that. Frost is a really good character. I think Sector would be another good one because he's got the flamethrower and you can get good combo game off of that. Although I could be wrong there. And all in all, I think those are really good cameos for him. He's got a solid overhead too. It's actually kind of fast, but it's still reactable, so it's not really annoying to fight against. It's pretty fair. I do think that Kung Lao should be played more in rank because not that many people, you're not gonna see this character that much, kind of like Li Mei, but they're really good characters. They can beat the other characters pretty good. I've actually tested Kung Lao a lot, and he does really solidly well, even amongst the higher tier characters. So that's something. If anything, I think I'll have to place him. I don't know if to place him higher or lower than Li Mei because they're about the same strength, really. I'll probably have to place him a little bit lower than Li Mei, mainly because Li Mei can anti-air characters, whereas Kung Lao, he kind of can, but only with the hat, like effectively. Alright, so now let's talk about a complicated character that's actually, yet again, top tier. That being Kenshi. So Kenshi is a little bit of a weird character because he's got two different movesets. One in his regular stance, the other in his Sento stance. In regular stance, his moveset kind of sucks because regular stance is just meant to help him get into Sento stance. So a lot of his moves are mainly just going to be setups in that stance. When you get to Sento stance, where you call in the Phantom, you have to be well coordinated along with your Phantom to time your moves right, and then you can get some crazy combo game off of that. It's really good. You got ways to keep your Sento stance as well, like down back 2, if you EXE it. That'll refresh your Sento stance. Another thing you can do is if you do down back 2, just regular one, it just kind of like repositions your Phantom to where it's close to you. That way if you get separated, you can just realign it. It's pretty good. So that's the main thing you want to keep in mind with Kenshi. He wants to be in a Sento stance all the time, no matter what. He's got good cameos, options that can help him get into it, like Frost. If you use Frost and freeze your opponent, another way to do it. Another thing you can do, you can call in Cyrax with either his net or his helicopter blade to buy time, and that gives you a chance to hop into Sento stance. This is a really, really good character. When you hop into Sento stance, even if your opponent is blocking, it is super hard to get out of a blocking situation from the opponent's side because he's getting hit like from two different sides, and it does incredible chip damage. If he tries to do anything to interrupt the move, he's gonna get hit. It's so like really, really tricky to do a counter Kenshi. If you're fighting a Kenshi, the main thing you really have to do is just don't let him get into Sento stance, like just prevent him from doing so. Just get up in his face. If he's rocking Frost, be careful of low attacks, because that's really what he's going to try to go for. I do think Kenshi is like top tier character. I'm going to have to put him right over here in A tier. He really honestly deserves the spot. Really good character. I don't really hate fighting characters. I know a lot of people say that Kenshi is kind of annoying to fight. I don't really think so. When I fight a Kenshi, I'm like, whoa, this guy is pretty good, because you have to actually be pretty good to fight him. And you have to be pretty good to use them too. So it's kind of like when you want to beat a Kenshi, you just kind of have to really know. You have to know how to play against his strengths and play with his weaknesses. You know. All right, so let's talk about a bit of a underrated yet fairly powerful character, Ashura. So Ashura is a bit of a fast character. She specializes really in like doing like ground combos that convert into air combos. But she's kind of fast, so she can kind of take you like off guard if you're not careful. The main thing you're going to be doing with Ashura is just kind of do like jabs with her sword, surprise overheads that launch you in the air, and then that way you can combo off of that. Stuff like that. You're not really going to be doing any like zone. Like she's got ranged attacks, but like you're not really going to be wanting to do that if you're playing ranked. It's just kind of a waste of time, you know. You got better tools, if you get what I'm saying. The main cameo that comes to mind is Serena for her, because Serena can help like maximize damage potential and combo potential. Another cameo would be Chameleon, because it just gives you way more options than you would, expect. But yeah, I really don't think of any weaknesses with her, actually. She's a solid character, but you just don't see many people play as her. I'm not really sure why. She's fast. She's pretty good. When I play as her, I don't really have any problems, so probably gonna have to place her right here in between Melina and Reiko. She's a really good character. No complaints at all from me, honestly. If you guys disagree though and say that she's not that good, I'd actually be interested to know why, as I actually don't really have any problems with her. Like, she's just really good. I don't know any weaknesses. Her combos just flow really well, more than you would think. Alright, let's talk about a fast character here. Baraka. So Baraka is actually the fastest character in the entire game. He's a really fun character to play as, and the main thing is that he's a speedster. He's going to be taking you by surprise. He's going to be attacking super fast. He's going to be all up in your face, and he's going to be using Cyrex to maximize his combo and try to do like mini air combos. And when you're fighting Baraka, the main thing you got to keep in mind is his overheads and that like leg sweep he has where it counts as 2 hits, because if you try to armor throw it, it's not going to go through since it counts as 2 hits, not 1. The main thing you want to do with as Baraka is, if you're playing as them, mainly try to like stay up in your opponent's face, because you have the advantage. You have the speed advantage. You can just like keep on attacking and pressure them, and if they're just going to block there, you can either grab them or just do chip damage. And when you have Cyrex, you know, you can just like mix them up pretty good, honestly. It's a really good character. If you're fighting against Baraka, the main thing I guess you can do is just keep your distance, because if you get even a little bit close to him, he can just take you by surprise there with that one ground dash he's got, where it's like super fast. Let me see here. I already talked about Cyrex because it flows really, really well with him. I guess the one thing you'd have to watch out for is if you're fighting him and he isn't using Cyrex, he could use Melina to get a bit of a better projectile game. Because he does have a projectile where he shoots a spike at you, but you can easily dodge that because you can just duck it. It's not that good. Other than that, he doesn't really have any solid projectiles. He's meant to be a close quarters character. And for that, honestly, I had to put him in A tier. I think he's like really good. It's probably he's literally the fastest character in the game, so you gotta watch out for that. Alright, now let's go talk about a terrible character. But I really wish they would buff her, and that being Natara. So Natara's another air character, kind of like Kitana. However, she's not as good as Kitana, because the main problem that I have with Natara is that a lot of her attacks, they're kind of close quarters, slow attacks that are meant to send you flying into the air. That way you can do your full combo. Whereas Kitana, even though she's not that fast, a lot of her ground attacks are actually pretty decent. That way, if you're having trouble doing air combos, you can at least still do mini ground combos. Natara doesn't really have that. She doesn't have any projectiles. Like, she's got one, but you have to charge it up by doing, I think it's like down back 3 or something like that, and then you have to press it again to shoot it. It's like dumb. I don't know why. She honestly does not need that. If they want to give her projectile, she should just have a regular projectile. None of that, like, press the same button 3 times to charge it up. It's kind of goofy. The main thing I have with her, though, is she can get knocked out of the air pretty easily if you know what's coming. If she's in the air, she can do good damage. But the thing is, that's if she's in the air. Because the main thing your opponent's going to be trying to do is trying to knock you out of the air, preventing you from even going up in the first place, which isn't that hard to do for Natara. So, the main cameo I can think of is probably Jax or Scorpion. And that's about it. She's just not a very good character. If they would buff her attacks, make them a little bit more viable, or maybe rework them and give her different ways to get her opponent in the air, or at least give her some combos on the ground, that would honestly not be that bad. So for that, probably gonna have to put her D tier right here. Not as bad as Sub-Zero or Scorpion, but still pretty bad, honestly. Alright, now let's talk about a slow but super fun character to play as, Geras. I love playing Geras in public matches, and I don't really play him all too much in ranked, although I have. He's pretty good because Geras although he's slow, he's got a couple ranged attacks, he's got a couple low attacks, he's got a solid overhead. The overhead has actually got good range. Like, if you pop his overhead, that thing has pretty good range. You have to be careful if you're fighting him, because that can take you off guard by surprise. It's fast. But the thing is, his movement is a little bit slow when he's walking, but his combos are actually pretty good. And the main thing he can do is he can stop time, regain his health. He can charge up his hourglass 3 times. That way he can freeze you in place. I like doing that because if you EXE the hourglass, it charges it up instantly. and you can just keep taking your freezing your opponent and just doing free combos. It's pretty fun. A lot of his brutalities are actually pretty cool too, because they all involve like the time, the clock, turning your opponent into sand, this sort of stuff. Kind of like his fatality. It's a really, really good character to play as. Cyrax is probably the best choice you have for him, honestly, because he's got the net. When you pop the net, it buys you time to charge your hourglass. I personally like to use Motaro though, because it gives me more movement mobility. I can like teleport, call in a ranged attack, or yeah, I call in the ranged attack, not necessarily to hit the opponent, but to buy me time with Motaro. Because when you shoot the 3 energy beams, it buys me enough time to charge my hourglass for free. And that's what I like to do. And when I'm not doing that, I just teleport behind the opponent to just be up in their face and try to like do combos off of them. He even has one combo that charges the hourglass by 1 block, and it's pretty cool. I like that. I like that they did that. Now, he has received a small buff to where now you can see how much hourglass you actually have. I think it's like above your super meter, I think is what it's called. Before that, he didn't really have that. So you kind of had to like guess in your mind how much meter you had. But all in all, I do think probably yeah, I'm gonna put him above Xiao. He's just really fun to play as, in my opinion. And he's trickier to counter than General Xiao anyway. When you fight, you don't really fight him too much in lower ranked, but once you get to the higher tier ranks, you're actually going to be seeing more Gearus than you would think. And when you do fight him, you kind of have to like adapt to how he fights, because most Gearuses don't really play the same. They kind of have their own playstyle. So when you're fighting him, you have to like kind of take your time and see how the opponent plays, that way you can counter him. But yeah, overall, solid B tier character, fun to play as. Alright, let's talk about Havoc. So Havoc is actually the reward character you get for clearing the campaign. A lot of people like to disagree and say that Havoc is actually not that good of a character. And some even say that he's D tier character. I don't really think so. See, Havoc is meant to be the reward character. Yet in this game, he's actually better than the reward character you get in Mortal Kombat 11 or X. Because in 11, I believe the reward character there was actually Frost. And Frost wasn't that good. I can't remember who the reward character was in X, but Havoc is better as a reward character than the character that was in 11. So, that's something. He's got good mix-ups. He's got a solid overhead. He's got good grab combo potential. Mainly the thing that you're going to be worried about here is if you're playing as Havoc is that trying to pull off these combos, as they're kind of tricky to do. When you're fighting a Havoc, mainly they're going to be trying to like do grabs and stuff like that, or try to do the thing where they choke you out and put the rope around your neck, that way they can get a free combo off of that. He's got this one move where he peels his arm off and just hits you with it. If he does the normal version of it, it actually comes with 1 free block of armor without using meter, which is pretty crazy. If he EXEs it, it gives him 3 blocks of armor. It's probably the most armor a character has in the entire game, honestly. He's not too amazing. You're not really going to be seeing this character in ranked, to be honest. Unless you're fighting in like in the lower ranks. In public matches, yeah, you're going to be seeing him every now and then. But in ranked, not really. He flows well with Scorpion because he's got that one overhead sword attack that you can use to take your opponent off guard. And you can do a combo off of that, but nothing too crazy. He's got weird projectiles where when he throws a projectile, it like swirls around the enemy. And it can kind of catch you off guard, but it's still blockable. I don't really think he's like he's a crazy character, but I don't think he sucks either. So for that, honestly, I'm probably gonna place him right here. I think that's a really good spot for him, like in between Sindel and Rain, because I think he's a little bit better than Rain, but I don't think he's better than Sindel, because Sindel's combos were better. All right, so let's talk about the best character in the game here. If you see the tier list, you probably already know who it is, and that's Shang Tsung. Yep, best character in the game. Moving on. I'm just kidding, but yeah. Shang Tsung. Oh, I got a lot to say about Shang Tsung. He's my main, so I'm going to try to remain unbiased here. I think, honestly, a lot of people downplay Shang Tsung a lot. Like, a lot of people do not understand how good Shang Tsung is. He's got a lot of good moves. He's got a lot of variations he can do. He has every moveset in the game because he can turn into any character. So, when he's in his normal form, as I like to call it, the young form, his projectile game is pretty good. He can throw one projectile, like that being a skull, 2 skulls, or 3 skulls, and all with the different commands, obviously. He has really good, solid overheads. However, in his young form, that's where you really want to use the overhead, because he's got a really solid overhead. You can't combo off of it, obviously. It's just meant to take your enemy by surprise. He has these spikes that he can call in by kind of like jump back, dashing backwards, almost like that, and it can dodge projectiles. And if your opponent, I'm trying to come up with the scenario in my head. If your opponent calls in the Kung Lao hat, the low one, and they jump in the air to do a dash attack for an overhead, that way it's an unblockable, you can escape out of that by calling in the spikes. That way you dodge the projectile and your opponent gets hit by the spikes. So it's really good. I think it's the only character that can do that. It's pretty cool. Now, that being said, his old form, if you swap into his old form has more ground combo potential and more air combo potential, which is pretty cool. But you lose your only overhead in the game unless you jump up in the air and hit them. But I don't really like to count that, because any character, if they jump up in the air, that they have an overhead like that. So every character has that. But his one ground overhead, he loses that when he's in his old form, which kind of sucks. That's why I don't like to use the old form that much. But if you can like learn how to do a juggle combo, it's pretty cool to pull off. Now, here's the main thing I use Shang Tsung for. I can just stake in his his young form, do some like small mix-up string stuff like that, you know. But then I like to transform into my opponent, and then I get their moveset. And me having played as every character in the game, I can effectively use their own moveset against them, then swap playstyles back and forth between my Shang Tsung or Johnny Cage or Raiden, like any character like that. That's what makes Shang Tsung good. This is why Shang Tsung is the best character in the game, and a lot of people don't understand that. Shang Tsung is the best character in the game because he will always have the opponent's moveset no matter what. So if I'm fighting the best character in the game, like a lot of people say Johnny Cage is the best character in the game, right? So if I'm fighting a Johnny Cage, I'm the best character in the game too now, because I have his moveset. There's literally no difference. And on top of that too, if you EXE his morph shift, all of the moves you do while you're transformed deal slightly more damage than your opponent would normally do. So that makes it even better. So if you're fighting Johnny Cage and you turn into him with the meter burn version, you're doing more damage than Johnny Cage is actually going to be doing to you. So that makes him even more busted. That's why I like Shang Tsung. That's why I think he's the best. He's always going to be the best no matter what. Because even if regular Shang Tsung gets nerfed, as long as he has the ability to transform into the opponent, he's always going to have that one up against them. It's gonna make it like a mirror match, you know? That's what makes him so good. But yeah, Shang Tsung, honestly, he's an S tier, as I like to call it, Shang Tsung tier, because he's the top. Alright, let's talk about the DLC characters here. I saved them for last. I'm gonna get to them one by one in the order they released in. First one is Omni-Man. So Omni-Man, when he came out in a pretty good state. Like, I don't think he came out busted or anything like that. He's a pretty fast character. He's got a lot of good ways to get you up in the air. He does a lot of good air combos. Out of all the characters that do air combos, I think Omni-Man is the best one, because he's just so fast. A lot of his combos are they have a bigger window of opportunity to execute the combos in the air compared to the other characters. And when he's not in the air, he still has like a good moveset. So he's got this one move where he like ground stomps you, and if he hits you with that actually counts as 2 hits. So if you try to armor break through that, it's not going to work. Now, it can sort of work if you do it quick enough, but that's if you do it quick enough, and it's more likely than not, you're not going to do it quick enough, so you're going to get hit by it anyway. So he's got a lot of ways to dodge projectiles, that being in his Viltrumite stance. He can do an overhead with the Viltrumite stance, or he can dash behind you with the Viltrumite stance. He's got a lot of ways to do attacks. When he's up in the air, he can also dash downward, and it's pretty cool. The main thing he can use Omni-Man with is Jax. Let me see, who else? Cyrax. Who else? Oh yeah, Darius. Darius is another cameo that works really good with Omni-Man. Actually, Darius only works well with 2 characters, Omni-Man and Reiko, and I already went over Reiko. So other than that, really solid character. I do think he's I don't have to place him. I'll hide to place him. Actually, you know what? Place him right here, because I actually do think he's better than Melina. Let me see if I can place him over here. Oh, there we go. I do think he's better than Melina. He's just like faster, has more options than she does. He doesn't really have any real weaknesses because he's fast too, you know? Even though he doesn't have any projectiles, he's just like fast, so he doesn't really need it. Alright, let's talk about a character that when he came out, he wasn't really that good, but then he got buffed. So now he's pretty decent, and that being Quan Chi. So when Quan Chi came out, a lot of his moves were just kind of underwhelming. You can interrupt him pretty easily. He was slow. He's still slow, by the way. It's just that his moves themselves got buffed. So the main problem was that when you would try to do a move, because he's a setup character, he would get interrupted. Or when you would do the move, it was just kind of like doing crap damage, and the combos he had weren't really that good. He also had a combo that was actually bugged at launch, and that being his tentacle grab, where he would like slam you for some reason. Whenever you would EXE it, the tentacle would not throw the opponent in the air like it's supposed to, and instead it would just keep them on the ground, so you would waste your meter. But that's been fixed. So since then, he's actually received 2 extra moves. A move that gives you armor, and a move that keeps the opponent away. I believe that was the other move. He's a solid character, nothing too special. He's got decent strings. He can work well with cameos. I believe the main one that people like to use is Serena, and I think Movado, because when you throw the electric bomb, it buys you time to set up the portals and everything like that, and you can just throw projectiles. When you activate the portals, it switches the variations of your projectiles. So normally when you throw one skull, it throws a big skull, or when you throw the overhead skull, it throws 3 of them, stuff like that. He's nothing too crazy. He's alright. I'll probably place him like C tier. At launch, I would have actually placed him like right over here, like bottom C tier, because of how bad he was and how buggy he was. But now he's respectable. Solid C tier. Alright, we're nearing the end, folks. So let's get through these a little bit quicker. Peacemaker. So Peacemaker is yet another character that's not really so liked by the community. A lot of people see him as Johnny Cage 2.0, and I actually think he's a little bit more broken than Johnny Cage, actually. However, I don't think he's completely busted. It's just because of one move, but we'll get to it. Peacemaker has a lot of ways to attack you. He can attack you from ranged. He can, like, block ranged attacks with his force field. He can use anti-gravity to do an overhead from up top, from anywhere in the map, which is pretty cool. But yeah, you gotta be careful with that. He can also use the anti-gravity to, instead of doing an overhead, he drops straight down in front of you, and then like he can grab the opponent if they're blocking it. He can just take people by surprise with that anti-gravity. But the main thing that people do though is they like that one string where you just like 1-2, and then you can like either do Sonic Boom or call in Eagly, and then from there you can do your combo, and it does a lot of damage. It's really, really good. The main thing I really have to complain about Peacemaker is his Eagly and how annoying it is to fight. Because Eagly is really fast, like back Eagly specifically, to be honest. Because when you call him back Eagly, there's no way to block that on time unless you already know it's coming. When you hear him say Eagly, you better hope your button's already on the trigger, because if it ain't, you're not blocking that in time. And another thing that makes it annoying is since it's back Eagly, he jumps back, so it's safe on block. It's a safe move for him, and if it hits you, it sends you flying up in the air. And I don't know if he can't really combo off of that, but it's just free damage. It's just kind of an annoying move to go up against. His gun, if he EXEs it, it can cause you to fall backwards, and it lets him do a combo off of that. It's not too bad though. You can just duck it. He also has a move called Human Torpedo. That move is the move that's getting the most hate right now because it's so fast, kind of like Eagly. Human Torpedo is kind of like Johnny Cage's Shadow Kick, where it's just too fast to react to, and it does a bunch of damage, even if you block, and that is true. But again, I honestly don't think it's as bad as the Eagly. But because of that, I do have to place... you know what? I'll place him right behind Johnny Cage. The reason why is because Johnny Cage is easier to use than Peacemaker. Peacemaker, you have to learn him a little bit more, but Johnny Cage is just like an easy character to learn. Pick up and play. The main thing with Peacemaker though is if you're rocking a cameo, Chameleon is probably going to be the best option you get, because it just adds projectiles, overheads, more ways to get up in the air, stuff like that. That's the main combo that you want to rock with your cameo. Alright, now let's talk about another one of my favorite characters, Ermac. So when Ermac came out, I was actually pretty excited about it because I never really got to play this character, but it looked really fun, and I like the mysteriousness of this character. And I have to say, this character did not disappoint at all. This is a really fun character to play as. He's not like broken or anything like that. He's just fun to play as. His movement, I will say, is a little floaty, and that might sound kind of weird. And what I mean by that is that when you move, it kind of feels like he moves a little bit slower than when you press the button. And I think that's just the way he is in general, because he's the only character that's like that. But all of his attacks are pretty fun to use. He's got the main string that I like to use is 1-2 and then grab. It's really cool. He's also got a solid overhead with forward 3-3. Pretty good. He's got solid he doesn't really have any projectiles unless you count the down back 3 where he slams into the ground. It seems like a shockwave. I like to use that to start a combo. That's my favorite one because if you EXE it, it holds your opponent in place if they're not blocking down low. That's what makes it so good. The main cameo I rock with Ermac, honestly, is probably Scorpion and Frost. Frost to freeze the opponent, and Scorpion to do air combos because it's actually pretty viable actually. You just gotta learn it because all of Ermac's combos are actually pretty tight, so it's a little bit tricky to pull off the combos at first. Because if you mess up by even 1 second, like millisecond, it drops the combo. That's my only complaint. He's tight, he's a little bit floaty, but he's pretty good. You're not going to be seeing this character in rank that much, to be honest, though. So I will place him probably... You know what? I think he actually deserves a spot right here in between Lee May and Reiko. That's probably the best spot for him. Alright, 2 more characters to go. Let's talk about Homelander. So, the man in the sky himself, Homelander. Don't got too much to say about him. He's a little slow. That's mainly his weakness. He's not as slow as Sindel or Shang Tsung. I forgot to mention that Shang Tsung is actually got the same speed as them. So he's actually the slowest character in the game as well. Homelander, though, he's a little bit faster, but not that fast. So he's still slow. I think he's around the same speed as Geras and General Shao, actually, now that I think about it. The main thing that Homelander has is his lasers. He's got a lot of laser beams. He's got, well, a lot of laser beams, let's keep it real. He's got like 3 versions. Actually, he's got 4 versions of them, because he's got the regular one. He's got the one where he crouches down, and it's straight. He's got one where he stands up and he aims it downward. He's got another one where he aims it downward but a little bit quicker, but it goes further or something like that. Then he's got one where he aims it at the sky. Then he's got one where if he's in the air, he aims it downward. Like, he's got a lot of laser beams. And when his character got revealed and I saw all that, I was like, oh god, it's going to be Reiko 2.0. Like, all the laser beams are going to get spammed and everything, but actually not really, because his laser moves were actually kind of slow to actually execute. So if you think a laser beam is coming, you can actually be quick enough to either block or go for an attack and interrupt it. And that's mainly what I've been doing. It's pretty good. The main thing you want to be doing with Homelander, though, is kind of like zone the opponent out, and then when they try to make their way towards you, take them by surprise by doing the diabolical dash into an uppercut. That way you can do an air combo, because he's meant to be an air character. I don't think he's that good of an air character compared to the... who was the dude I had above? I think... oh, Omni-Man. Yeah, he's not as good as Omni-Man as an air character. He's meant to do air combos, but at the same time anti-air other characters, because he doesn't want other characters to be in the air with him. And that shows because he's slow. But he's got the tools to keep them out of the air. Other than that, I really can't say much about him. He's not that good as people give him credit, because if he gets anti-aired, which can happen, his ground combos kind of suck, because a lot of them are duckable. He can just dodge all of his strings, like his forward, I think it's like 1-2 or 2-1. You can just duck those and dodge them, and then you can just like counter that. It's pretty funny. Cause like when I fight an opponent and they try to do the move on me where they try to gouge my eyes out, I'll just duck it and then I'll do a free combo. And they'll try to do that move over and over because Homelander doesn't really have any other move that hits, you know? They're all like, all of his moves are considered highs, so you can just duck them. The one way I would fix this character, though, is make at least one of his moves not be a high, more of a medium. That way, even if you duck, you still get hit, because it's kind of annoying that all of his moves are just duckable. So because of that, probably gonna have to play some You know what? I think he goes right here, behind Quan Chi, because I'm pretty sure Quan Chi is actually better than Homelander. And I almost forgot to talk about cameos here, but Homelander's cameo, what you want to pick there is somebody that can help you do air combos. Like, for example, Cyrex's Chopper Blade. I like using that. Another thing I like to use is Darius, because it's kind of just fun to mix the opponent up. It's not a good combo to use, though, but it's solid. You can also use Movado, but I don't like using it. It's a bit too inconsistent when I try to use Movado with Homelander. Because Homelander's slow, but Movado's fast. So getting them to time the timing right is too tricky. Other than that, I think that's where Homelander goes. All right, let's wrap this up with Takeda. So as of the making of this part of the clip, Takeda's been out for like 3 weeks, I think, give or take, somewhere around there. So it's been a while since I last recorded my tier list video, but this is the last character of Combat Pack 1. Combat Pack 2 or Chaos Reigns expansion has been announced. There's let me see, think like 6 characters that's gonna be coming up with that. Sector, Cyrax, Noob Saibot, Ghostface, Terminator, and then Conan the Barbarian. But I won't be putting them in the tier list yet, obviously, because they're not even out. So I'm probably gonna wait until all 6 characters are gonna have been out. You know, that way I can actually review them and put them on the tier list. But yeah, all that's left here is Takeda. So how is he? So I think honestly Takeda is a pretty interesting character. He's a setup character, which means that you're gonna have to like mess around with some of his arc stars and kind of bait your enemies. That way you can get some good combos in. He's also got this Whiplash, which is back 2, and it's got really good range. You can like definitely get some good combos with that if you pair him with Farah, or I think I've even seen Cyrax, or sorry, not Cyrax, Jax. Those are 2 really good cameo pairings that I've seen with him. But I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Personally, I think that his arc stars are a bit of a disappointment, because they're in the trailer. It looks like they're like a big part of his gameplay, but they're not really. Like, you can kind of do like one combo with them, and that's kind of it. Like sure, you can like spam. I guess if you really wanted to, you can spam projectiles. Like, just throw the arc stars. You can even throw them while you're in the air, but combo wise, like, there's only like one good combo I can think of with them, and that's about it. And that involves Jax if you really want to maximize the damage there. But personally, I think Farah's a good cameo with him. So is Jax. I think Cyrax might even be good too, but I haven't really seen too much of him yet. I've been playing as him, and I followed definitely quite a few people with him. However, the thing you gotta keep in mind though, most of the people I've been fighting though have been just kind of trying out the character, not really like good. But the few good people I've actually played against, they've used Jax most of the time, and they're really good. They know how to do it. They just used the Whiplash combo, not the Arc Star one. And as for ranked, personally, I can't really put him in A right now, because I don't think he's like top 5. Personally, I think he's like B tier. Let me think here. Ooh, where to put him? Okay, I see where to put him. I'll put him in between Ashra and Reiko. Because personally, I don't really think he's better than Omni-Man, Melina, or Ashra. But I think he's definitely better than Reiko and the rest. I think that's a good spot for him right now. Personally, I think if they buff his arc stars, or not really buff them, but like rework it a little bit to where like there's more stuff you can do with them, I think that he would definitely be more like high B tier or even low A tier, you know? I personally don't think that there's still a lot you can do with his arc stars. Like, that his whips are pretty good, and that's where the main combos are going to be from. You're not really going to see anything from his arc stars unless there's that one player that happens to know the combo, but that's about it, really. And as for ranked, you're not really going to run into this character all too much. You might run into 1 or 2 of this character, but like I said, since nobody really like has mastered this character yet, there's not going to be a lot of people that are going to be comfortable running him in ranked. But I do personally think that he's better than Quan Chi and Homelander, definitely. But I do feel comfortable putting him where he's at right now. And yeah, that concludes this tier list. Looking back at it, definitely some changes to what I had in mind before I made this video. I had a couple different ideas of where I wanted to put some characters, but it's a little bit different when you're actually making the video, because then you're actually like really talking about it, you know. I personally do think that Kung Lao maybe could have been a little bit higher, but it's just that I don't think he's like all too good. He's pretty good, but like I make it sound like he's not good. He's B tier, so he is pretty good, but most of the roster is B tier because most people there are either going to be solid or pretty good, and that's about it. And when it comes to ranked, mainly people are just going to be using like the first three three characters of the B tier, and then everybody in A tier, because that's really what they want. They want the fast characters. They want the character with the most options, most safe on blocks, like more variety, like projectile, stagger, stuff like that. That's what really matters. When you have a character that has less of that, it becomes kind of harder to compete in the higher ranks, especially when you're going up against like demigods, gods, and elder gods. It gets like really hard to compete there because you have less options than they do. Because like you could be playing as like I don't know, Homelander, right? And like Homelander has a bunch of highs that you can just duck under, and you could be going up against like a Liu Kang who has the best projectiles, the best staggers, the best whiffs. Like he's got everything. And that does not necessarily end well unless you're like really good. But at the end of the day, like, you know, you just pick what you want, what you feel comfortable with, what you want. But this tier list was just mainly like what I felt was the best characters to use in ranked. What was not the best characters in ranked to use right now. Now, as of the making of this video, I know that Natara did get buffed a little bit, not necessarily because of her moves, or although she did get 2 move buffs, but more so because Pharaoh's at it, and Pharaoh works really well with her, and that definitely bumps her up. But I'm personally not gonna change any of the characters that are in this tier list right now because of the patch changes. I'm gonna wait until after Combat Pack 2 to update the tier list if this video gets enough support, in my opinion, because like I said, like I already made this video. I don't want to be making changes to it already in one video, you know. But Natara did get buffed. I know that I think Lee May also got a buff to where one of her moves now sends the enemy flying a little bit higher, so now you can like do another combo while they're in the air. So that's pretty good. I'm trying to think who else got a buff. I know Goro got a buff, but I'm not talking about cameos right now. I'd have to make like a cameo tier list, although I'm not too familiar with some of the cameos, since I've used pretty much almost all of them except a couple of the DLC ones. I haven't really gotten in depth with Tremor or what's his name, Movado yet. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Probably catch you guys later with maybe some Hitmen or something. I don't really know. I got a busy schedule this upcoming month. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. This has been Dragoneye. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Peace.